Woohoo!
Oh, I've got
Oh, I do. Okay,
power.
but now it's recording. Okay, so welcome to the Chaos Common Working Group meeting for August 6th. For people who don't have the link, I will drop that into the chat, unless somebody else probably already has. I'll do it again in case other people have joined since we did that. We don't have a ton of stuff on the agenda, which partially is probably because I missed the last meeting, so I didn't know what to put on the agenda. But we do have a couple, or at least one urgent thing that we need to make sure that we have all of the issues closed for the release. So that's kind of the first thing on the agenda. That's the one thing we really need to get through. And then I thought we'd review the PRs and issues if we have any, action items and notes from the previous meeting. We can talk about the progress on the metrics spreadsheet. And then I don't know, are there any other agenda items to add? Were there any specific metrics that we wanted to talk about this week?
I don't think so. I think the biggest push was to just kind of get these out for the release. So
Okay.
kind of get over that hump and then
Okay,
pick things
perfect.
up after. Yep.
So let's go ahead and have a look at the release issues and make sure that we close all of those. And I will share my screen so that we all on the looking at the same stuff. Okay, you can see that, right? You see
Yep.
working group? Okay, cool. I'm always a little nervous when I share stuff because I'm like, am I sharing some super secret confidential VMware thing, or am I sharing
Yeah.
the screen that I
Again,
think
you can
other
Yeah.
people
always tell. You can always tell me, and I will cut it out. So
Yeah. I've started just opening the meeting minutes in a different window entirely and just
that's what I do.
sharing that window just to make sure I don't accidentally hit a tab that's like something else.
Yeah. Okay, so let's walk through these. So we have the time to first response. So it looks like there are no comments on this one.
This one will actually be on the next release.
Oh, this will be on the next release. Oh, sorry. Oh, metrics candidate release. Sorry.
yeah,
Oh no,
and
that's
I
what
think
they all say.
Sean just opened it up 2 weeks ago. So it was an action item that Sean had from ages ago.
Okay.
So we're
See what I'm
not going to
saying?
do it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do it before the release because that would make Kevin very upset with me.
And it doesn't,
You're
and it
not
wouldn't have
following
hit.
the process.
Correct.
Well, I'm following the process, but I'm kind of like breaking the process by following it too literally. And
No.
so,
Well, the biggest
Yeah.
issue was it didn't have a 30-day comment period.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't bother me
yeah,
either way. It's just the 30-day comment period.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave that one. Contributor location. So we have this. Matt Broberg likes it. So I think we're done. No, just kidding. Is there anything for the ones that didn't have any comments? Is there anything we really need to do to review them? Oh, these are nice visualizations. Cool.
I don't think. I think it's mostly just kind of. I don't know, Kevin, if you want some sort of statement there, but then closing the
I
issue.
can, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I will close and comment on that one. Then time to close. These notes. Is this one current or, oh, this was one of the rolling releases and now we're just finalizing it to put it in the release.
right. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm a little distracted. I just had to add a couple of comments to my insurance company's forensic engineer's report so I could send it to my engineer so he could call bullshit and get this thing taken care of. Sorry.
No worries. Sorry, what do we call these? It was one of the, what's the name for that?
CMC, continuous metrics contribution. Contribution, if I can say it.
We can find a better name.
Metric contribution.
Yeah, CMC.
C. Feel redundant, but I'm just going to say that because it feels like a weird sentence otherwise. So we'll close that one.
Well, by the way, we also need to remove the disclaimer from these metrics. So each of these metrics has this metric is a release candidate disclaimer at the top of the Markdown page.
Yeah, that was the part that I wasn't sure if we removed that or if you removed that, Kevin.
If it's there when we go live, then I will remove it. But I suppose I would prefer if you removed it.
Okay.
Why don't I go ahead and do that? I'll just
Okay.
do it in a PR and somebody can just merge it like while we do this.
Okay.
What was
good.
that metric? Which one did you just close?
Contributor
That's the thing.
location.
Oh, here, let me look because I just closed 2. So I closed contributor location and time to close.
Okay, but contributor location was the only one I think that was part of the. Okay, nonetheless, I'll get it.
Well, did time to close have that?
Time to close will have it as well.
Oh, okay.
Where is the disclaimer?
It's at the top.
At the top of the Markdown page. So we'll need contributor location.
Oh, I see it. This right
time
here.
to close and types of contributions. I think there's 3.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. And then types of contributions is the other one. And this was, again, one of the continuous release ones. Lots of discussion about Matt Broberg's feedback. And it sounds like we're going to add the stuff that he wanted to see in it as a different metric. Did I interpret my scanning of this correctly?
That's how I interpret that.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was okay with that.
Closing this one for the release. We'll work on the other metric later. Okay. And then the release notes. So we've added them for So Kevin, you have everything you need in this release notes one, right? It looks like Georg added the stuff for this latest one.
Sorry, I lost my Zoom screen for a second. I think I have everything we need, but maybe we should check the website real quick just to make sure that everything is on the website as you want it to appear. I just dropped the link in. I mean, yeah, for Common, it's literally just a list of these are the 3 that we released.
Okay.
So if there's anything else you'd like there.
Anybody have any issues with that? So is this one ready? Do you want me to go ahead and close this issue since it looks okay on the website?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll close that one. Okay. So I think that's good. I see some new pull requests. This Augur visualization update, that was an old pull request. Is there a reason we didn't merge it?
I think
14 days ago.
Yeah, I created it during the meeting last week. So we didn't merge it because we're in the middle of a release period.
Okay.
Yeah. that's one of the things. I think there was another thing like that we just talked about, but it's the if we merge it now, then we release it without review, and it's just that's problematic.
Is the edit in response to review comments?
No, the edit is something that I said it's been on my action item list for months, and I finally did. So I think it falls under the we're not going to put new stuff in during the release period. That's how we classified it last time.
Okay, I think if the edit is a response to comments, then I think it's completely fair to put new stuff in or to edit the metric. But yeah, as you said, if this is kind of off base, kind of a different thing, then I suppose you're right. It probably needs the 30-day. Although
I actually think in
kind of
this case
fuzzy,
it
right?
probably, I don't think in this case it needs the 30-day because we're not changing anything about the definition of the metric. We're just showing 2 additional visualizations for how people might want to look at it. So we didn't actually change anything about the metric. And so I think if we change definitions, then those absolutely need the 30 days so that people could look at them. But this feels like, I mean, this is just visualizations, just additional information about the metric as it was defined during the past release.
I think it's fair to edit things during the comment period. So.
Yeah. Okay, if nobody objects, I will go ahead and merge this one.
I'm just coming back in. I'm guessing this is Sean just did some updates to an existing metric on a
Yeah,
visualization.
if you look at this, it literally is just he added these 2 PNGs and links
Okay.
to those 2 PNGs. So
Yeah.
nothing in the definition changed.
No, I'm cool with that too.
Okay. Okay. And then it looks like, okay, so these are just the removing of the disclaimer. Oops. See, Steph goes on the call. She probably just noticed that I merged these without my correct email address because we're trying to get everybody at VMware to use their VMware email addresses when they do things, and I just didn't in front of the person that tells all the other people to do it.
Now your statistics are all off.
And the whole person who is complaining that it's really hard then to get the data about the companies. So
Some people. Okay, so let's see. This one, I got distracted then when I was doing. Okay, so that looks good. Go ahead and merge that with one of my many email addresses. I guess I should make that my default on GitHub. And then the last one. It's good. Okay, so we got the pull requests taken care of. And then we got the issues that we could get done. Do we want to review any of these other issues? Some of these were kind of big, long ones that we occasionally talk about. This one looks a little bit newer. Georg, is this one that, did we talk about this in the last meeting, the one that I missed, or do you want to talk about this now? Because the next thing on the agenda is going through the PRs and issues. So I've just transitioned. Let me do a better transition. Back up. Does anybody have anything else about the release that we need to talk about before I just transition into other issues?
I was going to go into the spreadsheet and just mark those as released at this point, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And then Kevin, you have, at this point, you have everything you need from the Common Working Group for the release, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so transitioning into existing issues. We already did all the PRs, so those look good. Is this one you want to talk about, Georg, or did we talk about it in the last last meeting that I missed.
I don't remember talking about it. The metric is about the, do we have consistent activity levels or are there bursts of activity? And it was just something I found while doing research, 2 years ago. So I don't actually have any insights to how useful this metric is or if anyone needs it. It's just something I came across.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so when I looked at this, I just thought it was July 8th of this year. So this is one of those old metrics that we talk about occasionally.
It's not a bad idea because like burstiness is this high level thing, and it could be burstiness around issues, it could be burstiness around pull requests, it could be burstiness around email exchanges, whatever that burst might be. And I could see, obviously you can speak better to it, Don, as to if you are drawn towards like what burstiness around issues may mean at VMware versus burstiness around PRs. I don't know if that's something you would track, or around
Yeah,
email exchanges,
yeah. I don't know if it would be, it's not, certainly not at the top of my list to track just because I suspect that some of our stuff is probably less bursty than other projects.
Okay.
But I could see this being really interesting to track around repositories that have to do with things like events
Mm-hmm.
or things that have like distinct moments in time where
Oh,
there might be
sure.
real bursts. I remember putting some of the repos for the config management camp website through Gorse, and it was definitely bursty. There would be like a burst of activity when we released the agenda, a burst of activity when, during the event, and there were all of these
Yep.
all of the stuff in that project was extremely bursty. Um, so yeah, it might be interesting for some projects.
Okay. I mean, I like it personally. I
Yeah,
think it fits well in common.
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
it's a
Agreed.
stretch either. So,
Yeah, I would say if somebody wants to pick that one up and work on it,
why don't I go ahead
I
and take that?
cool.
I was thinking whether it can bring more, maybe more kind of insights if it's not for projects, but rather for a group of projects, organization, or a company, because that can give some insights how active maybe the community is around the example that you provided around events that might be useful for like companies or for a particular topic to be visible when the activity is higher, and what can boost higher activity kind of events and inspire people to participate more, or maybe just because I think it will be hard to analyze per project. It's rather in a way aggregated for a group of projects.
Yeah, yeah. It would be interesting to look across. Um, yeah, it would be interesting to look across groups of projects. If you look at like I don't know, like CNCF projects, is there anything that happens right around KubeCon, or is there anything that happens like is there a specific thing that happens during the year that might generate more interest?
Or
It would also
rather
be interesting, like
or
Google
just
Summer of
before
Code
the
too.
event.
I see a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
I see a lot of projects closing pull requests in Moss at the end of the calendar year.
I
Yeah,
was I was seeing from the compliance side, I was seeing a lot of push to open source certain things before some big events because people want to share it with the rest of the world or the rest of the company and want to get approval or what the necessary. So I would, that will be, yeah,
yeah,
we will show also how much effort it's on the, because it's related to also with a lot of work, what to expect also the overhead around such events as well for the maintainers.
okay, Matt, I'm gonna assign you to that one.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'll probably make the document today and just get that
Cool.
rolling. But a lot of the conversation that was just happening are those kind of filters? You know, the way that we think about metrics, like burstiness is at the highest level, is this time period where there's activity.
Yeah.
And then we deeper on the metric, we look at what that burstiness could be. So as was talked about, like at an aggregate level, at the end of a year time frame, after an event, like we may want to filter on.
Yeah, I would say that those are probably filters for the metric, for sure. Those are the things that make it interesting to interpret, right? Being able
Okay.
to
Because I'll write it
look at it in different ways.
generically. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Totally. Okay. Are there any other of these issues that people want to talk about? Again, these are the old ones. Okay.
Can I?
We have not done a good job of taking notes. I wasn't taking notes. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So when you were looking at the issues, I'm also in the spreadsheet at the moment, and I can put it here in the chat. And I was just trying to line up the issues that you were talking about with what we're doing in the spreadsheet. That's all.
I think I think that these are issues because we haven't really decided whether or not we want to make them metrics. So I think they haven't been moved into the spreadsheet yet.
Okay, burstiness was in there, so that's the only reason I. Okay.
Yeah, and burstiness, like in the language of what Augur would identify burstiness as an anomaly. Like if there's like periods in the project that fall outside of some norm, then and particularly if it's like an annual event, that would probably just show up in an anomaly detection algorithm.
Yeah.
But you don't even need a fancy machine learning algorithm to go and look and see the number of commits, pull requests, or whatever rises at one time of year, right? Like you don't need no fancy computing to see that.
That is true. Yeah, okay. It looks like we talked about this back in May, which is when we added it to the release spreadsheet. So that one has been added. The others, I think we just don't know what to do with them. The responsiveness metrics, some of those have been added because they're individual metrics. So some of these, the reason this is still an issue is that there was just a bunch of stuff in here, and we haven't made metrics out of all of them yet.
Gotcha.
But most of those are included. And then this one is a gigantic discussion about a whole bunch of stuff that I think none of us quite knew what to do with. So it's all around email addresses and organizational affiliation, which, as we know, is hard. That's the hardest one to get right. So there are just a whole bunch of comments about that, and identity management and that sort of thing. I know I have next on the agenda to review the action items, but since we were talking about the spreadsheet, maybe we just quickly do a review of the metric spreadsheet. Do you want to drive that, Matt, since you were just updating it?
Yeah, I was looking. I might need a second. I was trying to like cross-reference what's on the web page with what I think is in the repo. I was seeing a little bit of a problem. So Sean has the time to first response metric listed at, that was the one that was from 14 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we have it as released in the spreadsheet. So something's off.
I think I'm proposing the addition of the visualization.
Oh, okay.
And that so it's an update to a released metric. I don't know how that.
But it didn't change. We didn't change anything about how it's defined. So we didn't change anything about the metric definition. It's just additional visualizations.
Exactly.
But in the issues, we have release candidate comments time to first response.
Probably because it's a change to an existing metric.
Should we close that issue?
Probably because it was part of the continuous, the thing that I can never remember
Oh
what we
yeah.
called those.
So it was
It
already
was
released because
CMC.
it was a CMC.
Okay.
I think there's a new category for continuous released metrics that is different than released in the spreadsheet, so that Kevin can follow those. Or am I wrong?
Oh, okay. So that was that pull request. So we can close
Yeah.
this issue. This issue is closed because of the PR, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is somebody else commenting or should I? I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
And just a question about the label matrix candidate release is to issues which are related to some new metrics, or yeah, I need to figure out the labeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we label those for metrics that are ready to be released, and then there's a 30-day comment period, and then they eventually get released. I'm not sure
So
where that's documented.
I believe
In
that's
terms of
documented in the governance repo,
Eh.
the process.
Okay.
Although it probably needs to be updated currently.
Okay.
So then on the spreadsheet, so we have, this is the burstiness one that I'm working on. And then it looks like we have a couple others. Language distribution and forks. So Sean, you had language distribution.
As I always do, and I come to every meeting and say, one of these days.
And I know that I think at one point Vinod was gonna come in and talk about forks.
Vinod's working on the forks.
Okay.
That's a for sure thing.
Perfect.
I think we didn't get it. We talked about this in evolution actually, but we didn't get to it. We didn't get it finished in this release, mostly because we were debating about which group it belonged in.
Okay.
So now that we've concluded it belongs here, I think he's pretty far along in that metric, and I mean we could open it up and look at it.
The title, the name of it changed to technical forks.
Yeah, I forget why. I think there was a reason though. I mean,
as opposed to no reason.
Right. Yeah. No, and I don't think it was. There was I recall being. Here's the thing, because I've discussed this metric in 3 different working groups. I cannot remember which conversations happened about it in which working groups, but we did agree on technical forks, and I think we actually.
I think this makes sense to me because I think what you're trying to distinguish between
Are the hostile forks. Yeah.
are the hostile forks. So I could fork a project. Like I decide that I don't like the way Kubernetes is going, so I'm going to fork Kubernetes and have my own Kubernetes, and I'm going to release it and call it something else.
MariaDB did with MySQL, and one of the offices did with the other office. I forget which came first. I think OpenOffice got hostily forked into something else, or
OpenOffice got. Well, it was originally
LibreOffice.
Yeah, OpenOffice became
LibreOffice.
LibreOffice is the fork. It was called something else before OpenOffice too. I think it was
StarOffice.
StarOffice, yes.
Exactly. But StarOffice was the commercial offering that used the same code base.
Yeah.
So they exist in parallel.
So we're basically distinguishing between. We're not trying to track that kind of event. We're only trying to just track what's your fork count. Boom.
Yep.
That's it. And so technical forks you can see in the edits that that's what we were working to distinguish.
Okay.
Why
Well, it
would
looks like this one has a fair bit of comments, so it might be better to wait until Vinod's on the call before we
I think so, yeah.
dive into it, because
what's the rationale for these forks to be common?
Because risk and evolution, and I think even value had risk and evolution had been working on it separately. I think value even talked about it. So we had 3 other working groups that were either working on or discussing forks, and it seems like the very definition of something that belongs in common.
yeah.
Like it
I mean, I
seems
think
like the reason we created this working group is for this kind of thing.
yeah, and I think it totally makes sense. I mean, this is very much an atomic metric that is, you fork something on GitHub, and that's just a, fairly simple activity that then
Okay.
could be used in, I mean, it's kind of an atomic metric, and it could be used in other things,
It just
in
it says
combination of other things.
it is used for value, evolution, and risk. Those they mean different things. The trends mean different things in each group, I think.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then we had lines and files.
So this is a discussion that um, so
I
these
I think this came out of an exercise we did where we looked at what Grimoire Lab and Augur already implemented, and Grimoire Lab has the level of lines and files to look at what has changed in commits in pull requests. Yeah.
Yeah, and Augur has the same thing, and all of the other, and this was sort of a reverse question, I guess. Is there, other than evolution, is there another group that is looking at lines and files? Because all of the metrics that are sort of directly related to committing code exist in evolution. And so this was more of a question about, do we include it in this working group, or should it be an evolution? I have no religion either way. I think I just pointed out lots of this kinds of stuff, and if you go to the evolution tab, there may actually be a metric candidate for lines. Like lines of code is included in the commit metric, for example. It's one of the things the commit metric already measures.
Well, I think, we haven't started this I mean, there's no document linked to it. I think we just keep talking about it here in Common. And I would say that if you're farther along in evolution and you've already included this in some other metrics, then it probably just makes sense not to do it in Common and just leave it in evolution, if that makes sense to you.
Lines is definitely included in the commit metrics in Common. Files
In evolution, you mean?
I'm sorry, in evolution.
Yeah.
Files is not anywhere yet, as far as I know.
Does that make sense to have it in evolution along with lines and commits? Because it's really, I mean, lines and files are both kind of they're part of what you commit, right?
Yeah.
You commit files, those files have lines.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think so. But then we should, I don't know, can we just move it to evolution? I guess I don't remember. I think Daniel brought this up, and so I don't want to do anything with it unless Daniel's on the call.
You can do stuff with it.
You sure?
That's fine.
Okay. Gary, so just move it to evolution.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, I think Daniel was involved because Grimoire Lab already did this, and he would just happen to be in the discussion when we were talking about it, but I don't think he's actually done anything on it.
Okay.
It might be worth just reaching out to him and letting him know that we moved the metric to evolution, so that if on the off chance that he did do anything on it, then
I'll move this row out of here and over to the evolution tab, and then I'll open an issue in evolution, and I'll just
All right.
ping Daniel and Sean and just say, hey,
Look
this
what we
should-
did.
yeah, look what we did.
Cool. Okay. All right. Anything else on the spreadsheet? Okay. Let's go back to the agenda. Action items from the previous meeting. I have not done anything. I've done nothing. I'll just keep moving this every week. Slacker. Whoops. Okay. So Sean, language. Yep, still work in progress. We talked about that one already. Really, I can't nag you on yours since I haven't done mine either.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's having 6 Google Summer of Code students and my 2 main developers on internships the last couple of weeks have just like sucked all of my time.
Yeah.
Excuses.
Looks like this was an action item twice in the last agenda. So I'll just add some more details there. And then this one we did. This was the pull request that we just added the 2 screenshots to. This is the one we already talked about. And Daniel was gonna. Oh, so we talked about this. The metric files, moving it to evolution.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
all right.
And it was tabled until 2 weeks from now. I'm gonna guess because you didn't want to move it out of Common without making sure that I wasn't, super excited about having that metric specifically in the Common working group. Okay, so we'll call that action item done. Cool.
Did Daniel finish an action item and he's not even here?
I know. Well done, Daniel.
I wish all of my action items went that way.
Yeah.
Me too. Somebody else could just do them for me. It'd be done. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to talk about on the agenda? And I'm gonna look at my calendar for 2 weeks just to make sure that, because I think I'm not gonna be here in 2 weeks because that seems to be a theme. I actually think it's KubeCon. Yes, indeed, it is. It is KubeCon for the next one. So does somebody want to volunteer to run the one on the 20th?
I'm always happy to do it. Not a problem.
Okay. There's a chance I might be able to call in depending on what the KubeCon schedule looks like, but I certainly don't
Okay.
want to. I don't want people to think I'm going to run it and then just not show up because that would be
No problem. And what I'll do is probably the agenda for next time will be trying to move some of these metrics that we just talked about forward.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be great.
Okay. Could
Yeah.
you do one more thing for me? Could you open the metrics tab? Or the spreadsheet, sorry.
Sorry. Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Can you go to the evolution tab?
sure.
Like, where would we want to move lines and files? I know that evolution can move it later, but
Yeah.
just in terms of being considerate, just plopping this row somewhere.
As the person running evolution while Carter is on his internship, I will say move it. I provide the blessing and authorization of the evolution working group.
The question
Fair.
was in which category should
Oh,
you?
Yeah.
Code development. It's absolutely code development activity.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank-
yeah. I mean, I don't know what else it would. It's not efficiency or process quality, and all the other things. All the other things like it are under code development activity. So.
Well, and this is, I think, the one you were talking about. Code changes lines.
Right.
So I think you already have a lot of
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
So
Basically,
it's probably more
files
about
is
the files.
Yep.
So, okay.
And that
Cool.
might be pull request. We might end up calling that pull or review files. We're still in discussions about whether we can change the name of reviews to pull/merge requests. And the thing we're discussing in evolution, well, we talked about this in the common call. It's making sure that we're conceptually consistent and incorporate Garrett appropriately, because it's code review request or code change request, whatever they call it, is kind of like a pull request and kind of like a commit, but it's only ever one commit. So there are parts of it that are conceptually different and other parts that are conceptually similar to a pull request. And so we're just trying to figure out what that metric, pull request, merge request, review request, means in Garrett, and if it means something that's the same or different or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is along the same lines of not calling things pull request metrics, because GitLab calls them merge requests. So
Yeah, we
the
were
language
proposing.
is difficult.
Yeah, well, pull and merge requests are conceptually, they function
The
the
same
same.
thing, but
Yeah,
they're just called a different thing. If you call them pull requests,
right.
it sort
It
of
has.
looks like we're using the GitHub terminology over GitLab.
It would be like merge/pull or pull/merge,
Yeah.
and but Garrett calls them something different, and we just want to make sure that we also include Garrett in whatever way is conceptually appropriate. And so I think Ileana, is it? Is that the person? I can't remember.
Well, Ildiko has been talking a lot
Ildiko,
about
yeah,
has been
Ildiko.
talking a lot
Thank
about
you.
the differences.
Yes, so Ildiko will hopefully be able to join us on the next evolution call and with Armstrong and help us sort it out, because I have not used Garrett very much in my career, and it's been a long time, so I can't really speak authoritatively about it.
Okay. So we have 3 minutes left in the spirit of ending all of the chaos calls at 50 past the hour. Is there anything else that people want to? Anything else we need to talk about, or are we good to go?
That was good. It's nice.
Efficient. We got a lot of
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
done. It was good. Yeah, I like the idea of focusing on some of the metrics next time and moving some of those forward. If maybe somebody could talk to Vinod and see if he wants to come and talk about forks, that would be
I just tagged him in the document. So.
sweet. Perfect. Okay. With that, we will conclude the meeting, and thank you everybody for coming. And we'll talk to you all later.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Thanks, Don. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
And John, your lighting's all of a sudden better. Good job.
Thanks. I figured it out.
Woo-hoo.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.